Ahoy there.
Nick Cage.
And don't pretend like you don't know who I am. What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! All right, I'm a little tired, a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation. Shame on you!
I lost just a little bit of control there, but now everything's cool.
Or Whatever Movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up, and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris, and I'm here with my older brother,
the Kling Clang King of the Rim Ram Room,
for this week's discussion on a movie from 1995, part of this month's NICOLAS Cage series, Leaving Las Vegas.
Man, this is like the end of Act 2.
Leaving Las Vegas.
Lowest point of the movie, NICOLAS Cage movie.
So if our NICOLAS Cage Month series were a movie, this would be the Act 2 low point?
Yep.
But not in terms of a movie's artistic merit or success.
It's just, this one is a downer. I do not have my fiance's support on this movie.
Oh man, this is not what she had in mind when Kelly Ray suggested Nick Cage Month.
I'm telling you, she confused this and Honeymoon in Vegas, starring Nicolas Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker, I think until 5 minutes into this movie.
So had she seen Leaving Las Vegas?
Nope.
You know, I honestly don't know that I had either.
Man.
I didn't know that Elisabeth Shue got naked.
Yeah, she got partially naked at different times. I think if you assembled a figure of her, like throughout the movie, you could say, well, I saw that part in that scene and her leg in that scene, and you can construct a model.
It's an incredible performance because it feels very grounded, very real, and she is the perfect kind of counter casting for a woman of the night, street walking hooker type.
Yeah, is she the heart of gold Julia Roberts type?
Maybe. I mean, they're both American sweethearts to me. She's like what dudes from Reseda aspire to, Allie with an eye. She's like the quintessential girl from The View.
About 1,000,000 miles away from the Karate Kid.
1,000,000 miles away. And she really is the lead character of this film.
I agree. And thinking, I mean, she's not the showiest one, obviously, but this is her only Oscar-nominated performance and what she called at the time, undoubtedly, her best role.
And Nicolas Cage, likewise, nominated for an Oscar.
Nominated and won.
And how did Nicolas Cage receive the Oscar?
How did he receive it? With much jubilation and enthusiasm. This is only, 5 years out of Moonstruck? This is right before The Rock and Con Air, and he even says, what would Disney think of that in one of his fake screenwriter conversations on the phone with the phone upside down, and then he went to work for Disney.
So what happens in Leaving Las Vegas?
What happens? Acceptance, no redemption, a little bit of alleviation of loneliness, some tolerance, and a whole lot of what Kelly called grossness.
I think she's describing the feeling that she walked away with.
Yeah, I think that Ben is a dude for sure. And as much as he wants love and acceptance and for someone to understand that what his journey is what he's going to do no matter what, no matter who comes into his life at this, unfortunately late stage, he's still going to go to Vegas and be debaucherous and consort with hookers and drink in public and cause disturbances and get in fights and aggravate bikers and stuff.
Bikers?
Yeah. That guy in the pool
in the
hall.
bar?
The girl with the terrible haircut who was sucking on his ear just to piss her boyfriend off, who accordingly headbutted him in the face.
Right. And then he gets kicked out of the bar.
Yep. That was one of the many weird cameos. That was Julian Lennon, John Lennon's kid.
Oh, really? Wait, the biker in the bar who headbutts Nicolas Cage?
The bartender who gives him the towel and says, men's room's out back. Sorry, we're going to kick you out.
Yeah, they get kicked out of everywhere.
Yep.
He gets kicked out of the bar. He gets kicked out of the first bar where he unsuccessfully tries to pick up on that woman.
Yep. Valeria Golino.
They get kicked out of the who?
From Hot Shots, man. Come on.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't breathe so much, Terry. Ha ha.
So Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Does he do the floppy hand in this?
I'm sure he does. He does floppy body. He's pretty floppy in this movie.
He's so great. I remember from one of my first acting classes that a character who is drunk is trying to act like they're not drunk. So it's a very layered performance. You're drunk, but pretending you're not.
Interesting.
And he does it really well, especially in the area of concentration. Like when Ben is lighting the match for Sarah when they're out to dinner. Like at first glance, you'd think he's just doing it with care because he's interested in this woman and he's very present in the moment. But then you realize that it's taking every bit of concentration that he has in his completely drunk state.
That sort of wide-eyed laser focus.
So laser focused, because that's how you have to be when you're drunk. If you're trying to do something like that requires precision, like lighting a match and holding it steady enough for someone to light a cigarette.
Yeah, but not just that. He did the matchbook single hand, fold the match over, strike it while drunk. That's a skill unto itself. I learned that skill. It doesn't always work particularly well. You have to have good quality matches. I also did the thing like Cobra, where you have the matches, the strike anywhere matches, where you don't even need the strip and you can flick your thumbnail across it and strike the match. And I did that with great success during my smoking years until a little piece of the match head got lodged under my fingernail after it ignited. That was fun.
Oh.
Yeah, you stop doing tricks like that when you have mishaps.
Tell me you were trying to light a cigarette for a beautiful young woman or something.
No, I think that was in Mike Parra's alleyway apartment, practicing with matches over and over again. I'm pretty sure, no. I got a nice blister, and that was the last time I messed with strike anywhere matches. Thankfully, I am far from that dude. I barely even drink.
Yeah, and when you do, you get all red in the face.
Yeah, that's why I don't do it. I sweat enough as it is. Plus, I can be designated driver for everybody.
So have you ever gotten drunk where you've like flopped around?
Oh, yeah. I start to get weird. Like I start to act weird and I don't have control of my body. And I probably do more of the Ben Sanderson extreme concentration thing. It's like, uh-oh, this is messy. I have to be careful now. And careful is not conducive to fun.
Well, and this is where they say, this is where the wives' tale comes into play, that drinking and some other social enhancements, I don't know, reveal or amplify your truest self, right? And if that's the case for Ben Sanderson, then he's a really sweet, gentle guy.
Yeah, he's in that way, he's likable, weirdly likable, right? Like, obviously, he's a dude without restrictions or certainly without care of consequences. So he's all like hookers and great ass and all that stuff. But I think he's still likable because because he's so gentle. He's like,
he is
good guy, doofy Ben.
So let me tell you, leaving Las Vegas kind of messed me up.
I think that's kind of the point.
Why did you want to watch this movie?
Because it has an undeniable place in Nicolas Cage's body of work. You can't ignore the one because it's hard or because it's not necessarily pleasant. This is the one he won the Oscar for. It's largely why he's Nicolas Cage. And then he decided he wanted to do action-y stuff, and everyone was like, we love it. But I don't know that would have been possible necessarily. I mean, he was already under Bruckheimer's wing and cast for The Rock, but he went on to have, a pretty substantial action career in the 90s in particular. And I don't know that any of it would have been possible. This set the stage for his acting ability and how it translates to popular fare. This is the one where the Nicolas Cage tics all make sense. If he does the floppy hand, or they're like, and like all the freakouts and stuff, it kind of fits more securely in the Ben character than anywhere else, which is why Matchstick Men, much later than this, felt like a cheat to me. It's like he's doing the Ben Sanderson thing, except he's not drunk, except he's got, what does he have?
Tourette's?
Yeah.
Leaving Las Vegas is the most immoral movie I've ever seen
Immoral?
in my life. Immoral.
This is also his weirdest, frizziest, blondest, baldingest Nicolas Cage.
I mean, he had to have had plugs, right? Because his hair is thick and wavy and dark.
Oh, after, I'm sure.
Unbearable weight.
But no, this is Nicolas Cage at barest essence. Hopefully, I mean, I know that he did get drunk. I know that he did do a lot of research. The casino scene where he freaks out and knocks over the table. I'm not sure if that was filmed in a casino, but I do know that he was actually drunk for that scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And a couple other times.
Freaks out and it's like, I'm his father.
Yeah, for some reason. And it doesn't track either because, she says something that the hostess or whatever sort of innocuously, and he's like, what? And then starts yelling, I'm his father, and like tears stuff apart and looks good visually. Yeah. I don't know why they kept the sound in it, because Kelly was like, what just happened? And I was like, I don't know. He was his father.
He was just a drunkard who was triggered. And I thought it was such an interesting choice to choose like that security camera angle.
Yeah.
And let the whole scene play out in wide.
In a single
where
shot.
You just kind of, it like enabled me to somehow view it objectively And I kind of needed that in that moment. Like, I think if we were all up in his business during his freak out, it would just be too much. Already at this point, like, it's pretty heavy, right? But in this moment, they're having fun, and you like are kind of maybe holding out a little bit of hope that like maybe there's something here. Maybe he could turn it around. Maybe they can make it.
Nope.
And in that moment, they're like, nope.
No. In fact, it seems like any time you're allowed to get a sense of their romance and have a little bit of hope, one of them screws it up. You know, like the earring scene, I could barely watch it.
Why?
Because I know what's coming, and he gives her the earring, and it's a sweet moment, and she's so happy, and he makes the comment after she says, you know, I think innocently enough, I'll wear it tonight, and and then you can see her face fall, and she's really sad, and it's not like they're intimate, weird little in her apartment being sad together kind of thing. It's like you can tell, you can watch her smile crumble in public, and the dude notices, and he's like, you can tell she really wants you to stay. Pretty heartbreaking in that way. But I don't think we ever have a wonderful exchange that doesn't land with a thud at some point.
Yeah, it's like dueling gentleness. Like they have their really sweet and tender moments, but they don't always line up. And I think that a big part of what makes them likable is their honesty. Even if the truth is ugly, if you're at least honest and in touch with it, there's something, I don't know, honorable about that, or something that makes you like or trust a person when they're like that. And there were two unfailingly honest moments with them, you know, him right off the top, where he's like, she thinks maybe that he's joking, but he's like, I came to Las Vegas to drink myself to death. And he never wavers from that commitment.
Yep.
Even her, when she's like, I think she loves him in her own way, but she also says pretty early on, I need you. I'm just using you because I need you. And she's at least in touch with this very sad truth about their relationship.
So is her personality, Sarah's personality, is she reliant on men? Like the Yuri thing, she seems to acknowledge, and he's not just abusing her. Yuri is the slimiest, grossest dude ever. Like, I don't know Julian Sands from too many other movies, but he's so thoroughly nasty in this movie, and Ben by contrast is so gentle. But it's not like she's like, please Yuri, don't cut me again. She's like, here's the knife, if you're gonna do it, because even though she kind of hesitates when he says we belong together, I think in a way she needed him for whatever reason, as much as she tried to get away from him. I don't pretend to understand the dynamic of pimps and prostitutes, I guess, but is she reliant on Ben in that same way? Like, it's obviously destructive, and she knows it's kind of like being with a dude in prison, because you know that there's only so much they can do. Do you think she went with Ben because she critically assessed him and is like, you're pretty drunk, and I guess if you're shady or start to hit me or something, I could probably get away or at least or overpower you? You know, like, I don't think Ben is a threat to her. I think that's a controllable situation that gives her, you know, I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of being lonely.
Yes.
Thing that she's trying to, and so that doesn't speak to idealized love, but it's a particular comfort and acceptance of her that she desires.
The filmmakers go to great pains to just show how utterly and profoundly alone she is. I mean, there's kind of no town more lonely than Vegas in some ways, right? Especially if you live there. And I think she needs Yuri because he's pretty much the only thing that she has.
I mean, you can say, look, oh, he accepts her for exactly what she is without judgment. She doesn't quite do the same, because ultimately she comes to express her desire for him to get better, and that drives them apart or whatever. But what is this movie feeding at? Is it like, wow, Nicolas Cage wholeheartedly committed, or what are we supposed to hang on to in this movie? Is it just that tenuous love and acceptance?
At least something that's come up in this discussion is that love is reciprocal and also neutral in a way where it can take on lots of shapes, some more unhealthy than others. She is profoundly lonely and finds love in these kind of twisted, mutated ways. And there's something really important about her being able to take care of Ben, buy him gifts, you know, take him on trips, show him a good time. Like, she needs to be able to express her love as much as she needs to be loved. And he's this receptive, very malleable object.
Yeah, it's not just a warm body though. He says exactly the thing she needs to hear. I'm a drunk, you're a hooker. She looks at him all sharply like, here it comes, right? And he says, I want you to know I'm a person totally at peace with this. Not to me say I'm indifferent or I don't care. I do. It's just I trust and accept your judgment. And probably no one had ever said that to her ever.
She looks at her life pretty neutrally, pretty uncritically, and pretty simply. Like, do you believe her when she says, my life's pretty good?
I think she definitely wants to think that thing.
You believe that she believes it.
She got out of LA. It's all she did. Maybe to make more money, like Yuri says, but she's still in Yuri's clutches at that moment, and indeed gets her ass kicked because she hangs out with him all night. Maybe she thinks that she's gotten to a point where she can be a higher class escort and companion because he doesn't expect sex from her that night. But I mean, also, he charmed her. She finds him when she goes, I go looking for him. I went out last night looking for him, and she finds him sitting on a bench, not drinking a beer or because there's an open container law, but drinking a full-blown martini on Las Vegas Boulevard. That's charming. That's like debonair.
Where he got the martini glass, I mean, and how he walked to that bench, that street bench or bus bench without spilling it is kind of beyond me.
It's like, really? The martini's what he's going to go with? Not like the Hurricane or something from Harrah's? Like the giant 6-foot drink? Like, how long would that martini even make a dent? Would that flask that she got him hold enough to, is that like the emergency stash when you're like on a plane or something? How long would that last him even if he's chugging directly out of the vodka bottle? So I've seen this movie lots of times, and you asked me, why did we, right, that's exactly what Kelly Ray would say. This is like the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. This is a post-breakup, mid-90s, total, like in the depths of despair kind of movie, where I watched this movie several times and I'm like, maybe this is what my life will be. Maybe if I can never find anyone again and I have zero direction, I could just move out to Las Vegas and drink myself to death or eat myself to death or drug myself to death. And maybe someone, it's like I could date a hooker and confuse their, affections that they're getting paid for as love or whatever. This is like the serious despairing movie. If you watch this one over and over again, it's because you're looking for the last shred of hope in an otherwise pretty bleak situation.
Oh my God.
And I haven't seen this movie in about, at least 10 years. But I feel like, obviously, she's putting herself in dangerous situations. But I wondered, for you going in cold, or Kelly, who hasn't really spoken about this movie, we didn't talk about it really at all, if you know that once those college dudes in the football jerseys roll up on her in like on one of the walkways, you knew immediately that was trouble, right?
I underestimated how much trouble it turned out to be.
And apparently she did too. It seems so obvious to me. Maybe I guess she knows more about safety being a prostitute than I do. But I was like, you can pick and choose. And it seems like the businessman or whatever in the convention sitting alone at the bar in a suit might be a better option than the dudes who like roll up with like a boombox.
I mean, it's possible that she was just hell-bent on destructive behavior because they were separated at that point, right?
Yep. That was immediately following because he asks her what happened when she still bears the scars afterwards in the final scene. Man, that was the second act. That was the end of Act 2 for that movie.
Ugh.
And it's terrible and horrible. I mean, if this bleak movie could get any harder to watch.
Let's just throw in gang rape by like punk ass college kids. I mean, they don't shy away from anything, which is why I feel like this is such an immoral. How many immoralities can we fit into this movie? We got like gang rape and murder. We've got drunkenness and debauchery and prostitution. And we also have like just general hate and disdain, from the quote unquote decent people in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, her getting beaten up leads to her eviction, which is the least supportive thing that lady could possibly do.
Right.
And poor Nikki or whatever, who's all like henpecked.
Right. Why did he even come to the door? She could have definitely, was she like looking for backup?
Maybe.
And he was all sorry. He was like all apologetic. And you really think, oh man, when she turns on the charm, like, oh, he's just my friend. Like, come on, Ben. And she's like trying to play it off.
He's clutching an uncapped bottle of Jack, for God's sake.
Asleep outside the gate. And when she turns on the charm for the lady at the motel in the desert, like, you kind of think that she might, be able to turn it around. And then you just get this two-faced, heartbreaking rejection.
Yeah.
I get it. As a proprietor, as a landlord, like, you don't want drama. But man, talk about a perspective from the other side.
I don't know that lady was wrong, because they were maybe destructive and breaking stuff. And
well, they were also having raunchy foreplay out on the patio.
Yeah. And maybe that lady had like a husband or something who saw all that nonsense and was like, ooh, and she got all pissed. And yeah, she had her own Nikki back there somewhere who she didn't want exposed to that salacious element.
But very in line with Sarah's character at the very top, which we should talk about the therapy device. But at the very top, in what I assume was a therapy setting, she's like, I become their fantasy. It's like I have a gift. I'm paraphrasing. But in that moment, I feel like Sarah is fulfilling every fantasy Ben could possibly have at this end of life stage that he's in.
The therapy stuff is an interesting device. We're assuming she speaks to a therapist, and the studio didn't want Mike Figgis, the director, to use those elements in the movie, wanted to keep it with the central characters. But I think it's a great segue, a great transition within the movie. It gives us a bit of the stuff that's coming out of her head. It's like, wait, she is the one in control. She's the lady of the night with the false confidence that breaks down, where she plays the dudes and plays the game, but then comes and gives all her money to Yuri, or comes home to be, hurt by Ben with another prostitute. But turns out it wasn't a therapist, and it wasn't anyone else. It was screen, hair, makeup, and wardrobe tests that Elisabeth Shue did, that they recorded, that he decided to include as a narrative device.
No way. They didn't shoot any of it in principle?
I don't think so. And it works so well that it actually ends the movie.
Wow. And it probably added to its really raw element. It feels raw, it feels natural, it feels exploratory.
You can't really tell for her, because she's kind of got the facade on when she has the bright red lipstick and she's doing the hustle thing, And you can see the hurt on her face register when he says terrible things to her, or she's hurt because of situations she can't control, because she can't talk him out of drinking. But I think she's got that fakeness, that sort of, trying to convince other people that what she's doing is justified. I know I shouldn't look for him, but I do. You're right. I shouldn't see him again, but I look for him. And she has kind of the slightly ashamed, downcast eyes. And therein are some really heavy revelations just about her character. And she gets emotional and she breaks down like you would. I mean, in my mind, it's firmly she's speaking to a therapist, and does so on a consistent basis, which I'm not sure is in line with the Sarah character, but I think works marvelously to showcase not only her impenetrable thoughts or her thought process, but also just to demonstrate Elisabeth Shue's acting range.
Interesting. I thought about it too, like if therapy made sense for the Sarah character. Not only is there a stigma barrier to getting therapy, but there's also a financial barrier. Like, it's not cheap for people who need it and who are like down and out. It's really difficult to get the help you need. But the Sarah character had a nice apartment, well
decorated,
appointed.
She had khakis.
In her off days, she's like wearing like loose-fitting, comfy clothing. Her hair is up in a French twist, like ladylike. And she cares for Ben in a respectful way. She buys him clothes. I mean, I'm not sure about the loud orange shirt. She buys him a flask, like she's got taste. I don't know, like...
Cooks him rice.
There's something... He cooks him white rice, which he doesn't eat because he's incapable of eating any food in this movie. So I felt like, okay, the Sarah character in some ways has it together and has compartmentalized her profession in a way that allows her to have an otherwise kind of normal life. So yeah, she could probably afford therapy. She might even do it because it's something that she knows she needs or that's good for her.
Do you think that it's a deference to Yuri and the stronger influences in her life that have caused her to not kind of rock the boat too much. I mean, she looks like a realtor, right? In her like carefully staged apartment and everything. And she looks like she could be put together, but she's willing to accept lesser than. Like, he's not a viable partner for anyone. Ben is in trouble and he's on his way out the door. And that's very clear. I agree, you can't really expect anything else from the movie, but she still, despite all of her best intentions, thinks she can or should save him. To be in the situation that she's in and subjecting herself to the dudes of Las Vegas, it requires something, some level of damage and hurt that she doesn't have the will to think around. I guess it's just, it is what it is. And if it's marginally better, then, I hope things are really turning around for me.
I mean, in a movie about addiction, I guess it's appropriate to talk about serenity. But the basis of serenity is accepting the things that you can't change and having the courage to change the things that you can. And maybe Sarah is someone who has accepted certain aspects of her life and is just focusing on changing or improving the parts that are actually kind of within her control.
Man.
So, last question. Why is this movie called Leaving Las Vegas? Because
I don't know if the Sheryl Crow song came first, but maybe that is the unattainable dream. Leaving Las Vegas is the most they can expect is a weekend getaway that goes just as badly as any of their time in the city.
It's another filmmaker trick where they're like, how about we plant a little seed of hope that they're going to get out of this? Because they're not.
But we have, one way or another, we've left this Las Vegas behind. Gone are the days of knocking over people's tubs full of coins. This is Dad's Vegas. Back in the day, where he's like, we can get some dinner, $2.99 prime rib. I'm like, that doesn't exist anymore. Not even on Fremont.
Yep. That was the Vegas that we grew up in, or, we grew up visiting.
That we were exposed to for sure.
100%. So, ne'er was there a movie that barreled more toward such an unpleasant conclusion, but it was an inevitability. You don't have to like Leaving Las Vegas or its message or the way that you feel after watching it, where you just like want to go take a shower. But I would definitely have to say that Leaving Las Vegas succeeds on its own kind of merits. So as messed up, as jacked up as I was after seeing this movie, I feel like it led to a, I guess, pretty diverse discussion, and I don't know, it was good.
Very chewy. It's something for Nicolas Cage and the unlikely Elisabeth Shue to sink their teeth into. I mean, they wholeheartedly embraced their roles and went for it. I mean, she shattered that Karate Kid image pretty much right off the bat. And he was just in the depths, man. You know what's scary? You know how old Nicolas Cage was in this movie?
Oh, great. Younger than you?
Ben Sanderson looks 55 years old. Nicolas Cage, 30 years old in this movie.
Wow.
There's some level of love and acceptance and tolerance in this movie, but we have to go through a lot of horrible things to get there. But a necessary inclusion for Nicolas Cage Month. I'm going to give it an all right rating because there are definitely great things about Leaving Las Vegas. And for a time and a point in my life, I watched it kind of a lot, and then not really a whole lot. When things do get better, as they do for everyone except Ben and Sarah, maybe this one is a red flag if you watch it continuously, like every Thanksgiving if it's your favorite movie.
This is not a movie about love. This movie is about the despair of addiction and how it kind of makes that missed opportunity for love all the more sad. So on that happy note, I can appreciate Leaving Las Vegas as a movie and as a necessary inclusion for this month's series, Nicolas Cage Month, on Or Whatever Movies. Please subscribe to our podcast. Support us on Patreon. Follow us on social media at orwhatevermovies.com and get in touch with us at orwhatevermovies@gmail.com, 818-835-0473. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.